When Wyoming went looking for a new men's basketball coach after the 2011 season, the Cowboy brass actually went back to the past to take the program into the future. Larry Shyatt coached the Pokes back in the mid-1990s and led them to the NIT. But he left after just one season for a short stay as the head coach at Clemson. The past 7 years, he has spent developing a reputation as the top assistant in the country at the University of Florida, where he helped to build the Gators into a national championship program. He could have stayed there the rest of his career. Instead, he longed to come back to Laramie to rebuild the program he once headed up at a place that he and his family have always loved. That gives us a chance to have a conversation with Larry Shyatt. I think the first question that I have for you, Larry, is what are you doing here? Do you get that question a lot from your peers in the business and from people who knew you during your first go here in Wyoming? Is what are you doing back here, Coach?
I think most of my friends, it did not come to a great surprise. They know me well, my family knows me well. It was really an easy decision for us. I think on the outside looking in particular the media, I don't think they were really satisfied with the truth being it's the right thing to do. And we always teach our young people what's the next right thing to do. There's no question for the Shyatt family, this made sense.
But for so many people who looked at this job when it came open, you knew the names that were out there, and a lot of them were younger names or younger assistants who had established themselves and were ready to take that next step. This has always been kind of a job that coaches look to be a stepping stone. For you, it was a destination position. Why do you see it that way?
Well, first of all, I felt like I had unfinished business. I didn't really feel good about the way we left. I knew we did the right thing for our three boys, and after 26 years of coaching at that time, I thought, let's do something for the people we love the most, but I still didn't feel good about it. And when Tom, a dear friend of mine, came to me along with the president and some other people, and were very honest and open of where this program was at, can you get it competitive again, the juices flowed.
When you say it was a family decision, what was that family decision? Most people would say, well, he got a chance to go coach in the ACC at Clemson, competitive university, great basketball program with some tradition, but your reasoning was beyond that. So what was it when you talk about the family?
When I left here, we had had a Cinderella year. We had gotten back to postseason play. We had drawn over 12,000 the last 3 games, and there was a love affair building again. The governor had come to us and gave us a very, very long-term commitment if we chose to stay. It was only in awe about my 3 sons. The only place they'd ever called home at that time was Clemson. And you know what, looking back, as difficult as that was, all 3 boys went to the high school that they had hoped to and graduated. All 3 boys went to Clemson and graduated. And the story didn't end too well for me at the time, but who knows, it led to the Billy Donovan era, 2 national championships, and here we sit.
It's interesting to look back at your career because outside of 1 year at Utah, right out of college, your first college basketball job, most of your other positions have been 6 years at Cleveland State, 6 years at New Mexico, 6 years at Providence, Clemson 3, and then another 3, 7 years at Florida, but just that one season at Wyoming. You talked about unfinished business. What do you see that unfinished business being now?
Well, I think every coach wants to turn it. Every coach wants to build it. But the toughest job of turning it and building it is continuing it. That's tough. And I use Billy Donovan as an example because what he has done for 15 years is unbelievable. To me, the unfinished business is, can we be competitive? Yes. Can we get ourselves to a higher level in this league? Yes. Can we get to postseason play? Yes. But we can continue that, then I'll feel like mission accomplished.
How have you been able to keep your family together, and I don't mean that you've separated, but just to keep everybody on the same page throughout the 36 years of marriage that you've had with your wife Pam, and to have your sons still a cohesive unit, best friends with their dad, no matter whether they're coaching or they're in the restaurant business, as two of your sons are. But it seems as though through all that time, the Shyatts have never really splintered. How have you been able to do that?
Well, I give most and all the credit to my best friend Pam, because she has been a martyr and a saint many, many years. Just probably could win the Nobel Peace Prize living with me that long. And she always put herself, her career, having a master's in social work at the #2 school in the nation, Case Western Reserve, to satisfy what the boys needed. But I think maybe collectively we've always told the guys and lived the life that wherever we've gone, you're going to have new friends. If they were really good friends, you'll continue to have those relationships. If not, they'll dissipate. And we've always gone up to our place, my wife's place, up in Canada, North Bay, Ontario, a little island, and we've spent, whether it's 4 days or as many this year as 7 days together. What's exciting is I still have Jeremy, a 30-year-old, and Jeff, a 27-year-old, and Philip, a 25-year-old, and we were all able to get together still. And I know someday they're not going to be able to do that, but we still love being together and maybe making what few time we're together more important and better.
You've talked about, and I've read a lot about this island that you have that's somewhat secluded up in Ontario. No boat, no light, no motor cars, not a single luxury, the old Gilligan's Island theme song. What is it like up there, and what do you guys do when you get together for that couple of weeks in the summer?
Well, now, since we don't all live together, we'll all fly and meet, land in Buffalo and stay in Niagara Falls, have a nice dinner. Then it's a 5-hour drive over Toronto, and we get into North Bay, Sturgeon Falls, pick up our groceries and anything else we're going to need for those 7 days, put it on our boat, drive for about 40 minutes over Lake Nipissing to the French River, and find a 13-acre island. Propane lighting. We're out there amongst them, maybe a Cleveland Indians game at night on the radio, but you know, a lot of family time, a lot of fishing, water skiing, and just getting away as a family would want to. Inexpensive, but not replaceable.
Have you ever had any, I don't want to say nightmarish expenses where everything just kind of went out and it's pitch black and dark, or some fun experiences from being up there that really stand out over the last 30 or so years?
Well, we had some incidences where somebody was casting and the lure didn't quite go where it should have, and we've had a couple operations, including one of our dogs that we had to take into North Bay who got the lure caught. And I can remember a bear incident when we only had one child, Jeremy, in his bedroom, and we actually had a bear bust into the cedar home that we have, and thank God no injuries, but I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But we've had fun, and if I had to think of one thing that we've done best, that is that we've made quality time with probably less time than many families.
When you're a kid who's 18, 19 years old and you get to college, you know, it's tough sometimes. And, you know, Papa Shy was always the guy that used to, you know, keep the room open for me, and I can always, you know, get some love from Shy.
You mentioned this being your last college coaching job, and you're here for the right reasons. What are the right reasons in this day and age of college basketball?
Well, it's one of the few, at least in my perspective, warm and fuzzy stories, because people don't usually just do what I did, especially because some people try to make fun of a place remote like Wyoming. It's a nobody school or a nowhere place. But I've already said once, and I'll say it again, because I'm a we guy. I'm a people person. And the people here were striking the first time. They were warm. They were tough. They were competitive. But they weren't asking for miracles. They want to see and they want to feel that their team's giving them the same thing that they do every day. That's why I think they appreciate the great weather for 6 months, because they know it's tough sledding out there. Not in the AA, but outside.
So where did your influence in coaching, where did your love for coaching start to develop?
Wait,
And is it as applicable today as it was when you first learned the game?
My love is as great for the game. My disappointment to what we've done with it, we at the high level Division I has done to it, is disappointing sometimes. Dave Odom, a dear friend of mine who coached many years at Wake Forest in South Carolina, said it best at a clinic a couple of months ago. The people who left the profession to us 25, 30 years ago left it in pretty good shape with good people surrounding the profession. And then with a lot of the money that's been fostered through television, through shoe contracts, and everything else, we haven't left that game to the young people coaching like maybe we would have wanted. And I'm a purist, and I'm a dinosaur when it comes to basketball, and I love it. So, part of my mission to come here is, yes, to do the very best for Wyoming, but to continue to do the very best for the game of basketball, because it is a great game. It does represent a group of people in a locker room from a diverse background every which way, and even a 15,000 seat arena where people can come and do something constructive. That's how I saw basketball. That's how I see the positives, and it's sort of fun to go back to Wyoming and see if we can do it again.
Do you think you would have had the energy to come back and the desire to come back? And the same goes for Scott Duncan, who has been to a Final Four. You won a couple of national championships as a top assistant to Billy Donovan at Florida. Had you both not reached essentially the pinnacle of college basketball in your professions, be it as a head coach or an assistant, would you have the energy and the desire to come back to Laramie, Wyoming and coach, or do you think you'd still be out there pursuing the Holy Grail and a national title before you're able to say yes to this?
It's an interesting question, and it's one that's never been asked. And just as you were asking the question, I'm trying to think, and you may have hit it on the button. I know the hurt that I had, the embarrassment, the displacement of being fired is hard to share with anybody unless you've been through it. And I wasn't sure I ever would be or would want to be a head coach again. And until we did see the streamers coming down, the confetti, and party a little bit with Horford and Noah and the gang, maybe I didn't feel accomplished, which I should have. And so maybe you're right. Maybe because of that experience, the excitement of coming back and doing something and knowing it's not going to be easy is that energy zapper.
You may not be the most well-known of coaches in the country, but certainly you're one of the most respected guys. If Larry Shyatt became the commissioner of college basketball, what would you do to dial the game back a little bit, to renew the core principles of the guys that, as you mentioned earlier, entrusted the game with you? How would you bring college basketball's romance back?
If I answered the question the way I should appropriately, A, I'd be disbarred, and B, this program would be shut down. But I would have some significant ideas, and it would probably start with the monies that are being distributed, including the monies being distributed to us. Because I don't know why we don't pay our police officers, our social workers, and our educators far more than they should be getting. And I can't answer why it's the way it is. I guess the answer, or the politically correct answer, has been it's the marketplace.
What are some of the fun experiences that you have had as a basketball coach, and maybe being around somebody that you admired growing up, or the experiences you've had overseas? What really stands out, not just being around the players and the guys that you've been able to influence over the years, but where you've gone, this is a really fun job, and if my friends could see me now, they wouldn't believe it?
I wish I had more of anything to make this more enjoyable or entertaining, but
We're loving the conversation.